First of all...
What is it?
I'm drunk.
Then let me get you some coffee.
First of all, I will not write a good review of a play because someone paid $1,000 for an advertisement in the Inquirer.
It's just some scheme for profit, right? Nobody expects you to. Say, Mike, are you trying to get Mr. Lyon some coffee?
Charlie, it's just a no-go. We can't agree anymore. I wish you'd let me go to Chicago.
Why, Brad?
I want to go be in charge of the new paper. And you said it yourself. You even wish that you had someone there to... It's not what I wanted to talk about.
Tell you what, I'll get drunk too. Maybe that'll help.
No, it won't help. Besides, you never get drunk. I wanted to talk to you about you and Emily.
All right.
She's going to leave you.
I don't think so. We just had word that the president is out of danger. It looks like I didn't kill him after all.
She was going to leave you anyway. Emily's going south next week with the child. As far as everyone's to know, it's just a holiday. And when she gets back, she...
Brad, you're drunk.
Sure, I am. She wants full custody of the child, and if you don't agree to that, then she's going to ask for a divorce regardless of the president's wishes. I can't tell her she's wrong, because she's not wrong.
Why is she leaving me?
She hasn't any friends left since you started this oil business. And she never sees you.
Well, do you think it was wrong of the Inquirer to start campaigns against the oil releases?
You might have made it a little less personal. It's not just that she's the president's niece, it's the people she's been brought up with, what she knows, what she's been taught to believe. That's important. And there's no reason why this savage personal note of yours has it.
The personal note is all there is to it. The personal note is all that ever is to it. That's the only thing there is to it. The stupidity of this government, the self-complacency and the unwillingness for a certain class of people to do anything wrong. These are not things that we can fight impersonally. They're not impersonal crimes against people, Brad. They're done by actual people with actual names and professions and positions. And the right of the American people to own their own country. That's not some academic issue that you can just debate. And then the judges retire and return with a verdict, and the winner buys a dinner for the losers.
You almost convinced me. I'm just drunk enough to tell you this. I have to be drunk because I'm a coward. You know that. That's why you keep me around. You only associate with your inferiors, Charlie. Yeah. Maybe that's why you ran away from Emily. You can't stand the company of your equals. You prefer to think they don't exist. All the big people in your world are dead. I told you that. You talk about the people of the United States as though they belong to you. When you find out they don't think they do, you'll lose interest. You talk about their rights as though you can make a present of liberty. Do you remember the working man? You used to defend him quite a good deal. Well, now he's turned into something called organized labor, and you don't like that at all. And listen, when your precious underprivileged really get together, that's going to add up to something greater than your privilege. And then I don't know what you'll do. Sail away to some desert island, probably lord it over the monkeys.
You finished?
Yes. Now, You let me go to Chicago?
You won't like it in Chicago. The wind comes howling in from the lake. They practically have no opera season, and Lord only knows if they've ever heard of Lobster Newburgh.
It's all right. What are you going to do about Emily?
Nothing. She doesn't love me.
You want love on your terms, don't you, Charlie? Love according to your rules. But then if you get hurt, then the game is up. And you have to be soothed and nursed, no matter what else is happening, no matter who else is hurt.
No. It's simpler than that, Brad. A society girl just can't stand the gaff. That's all. You know, other things matter to her. Like social position, like what they're saying on the front porches in Southampton. Whether or not it's going to be embarrassing to meet this or that person at dinner. She can leave me. As a matter of fact, I already left her. Don't worry about me. But I'll live.
I know you will.
Say, Brad, I've been analyzing an awful lot this evening. Why don't you come have a brandy with me? To love on my terms. And those are the only terms anybody ever knows, his own.
Well, that was very different.
Yeah.
That was really different than the way you guys had approached it the last few times you did it. It was, I think it was closer to the character, closer to a guy who's used to getting his way.
Yeah.
It was more aggressive. I know this pissed you off because it's not supposed to be here, and you kind of kicked at it.
Yeah.
But it kind of kicked off the scene in an interesting way for you. You know, this is one of the things that you see on stage. Is one of the great things about working on the stage is that you can do a show for 6 months. You can do a show for 6 years, and it can be different every night. So something happens in the audience, or something happened on the way to the theater, or it's the performance that you did on November 6th is completely different than the performance that you did on May 14th, just because of what's going on. But this started off more aggressively.
Yeah.
And as the scene went on, it was more aggressive. And I really, it kind of built to that moment where you're like, you can leave me. You can't hurt me.
Yeah.
It was a guy who's used to getting his way. It was a guy who people aren't allowed to say no to. And the drink at the end was that organic in the moment? Did you plan it?
We rehearsed some drinking.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That was the last drink.
Yeah.
When he was saying that, when he was standing over there going, you can leave me. I've already left her. That was my favorite moment in the whole thing, because you were looking at him like, who are you? It's almost like you were looking at him for the first time and seeing who he really was.
Yeah.
And maybe it was because you knew he was gone. and you were showing him. You weren't masking it anymore. I mean, you were allowed to be yourself around him, but you weren't. Maybe you never showed him how ugly you could be, because that was an ugly moment. You spoke about your wife and the mother of your child as if she were just a thing, and it was really it left a bad taste in my mouth, because I'm watching the scene as your characterization changed and was different from the last few times you've done it. I found myself sitting in Tony's chair with him, and experiencing the scene through Tony's eyes, through Mr. Leland's eyes.
It's him telling the story after all.
Yeah, and I didn't like what I was seeing.
Mm-mm.
And when you were talking about what it was, you know, that you were giving him a history lesson. You were basically talking about the Federalist Papers and the Constitution, and it gets back to that thing that just because you can do something doesn't mean you ought to. And your line about you give the people liberty as if it's a present from you. I don't think I ever heard it as clearly as I did today. You were more articulate in your argument.
I've been thinking about this for a long time.
Yeah. It was it was more articulate. It was more pointed, and there was more lost this time. And there was a finality to the lost. It was over. When you clink glasses, it's like, yeah, I will drink to the end of this.
Terry too.
Oh.
That
was a cat.
freaked me out.
Yeah. Well, cats at night sound very often like babies crying. So I was, I've seen the scene 3 times now,
Yeah.
and it was like a new scene.
Good.
Yeah.
It's a new scene. I guess, and it was good the last couple of times. I guess there just wasn't. There wasn't enough at stake. It was.
Your note to us was to make sure that we realized this was the ending of the most important relationship
Yes.
we've had.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
that's the point of departure that we took.
Also, well, you executed it beautifully, and you also, the other big note was that the gravitas of what you're bringing up in 1923 is something that one man did not say to another man.
I want to talk
Yeah.
about your wife.
I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And then when you go, you're drunk.
Yeah.
That's a way of saying,
Shut up.
don't talk to me about my wife.
Yeah.
So I thought you executed that note really, really beautifully as well. So, now I feel like this is Citizen Kane.
Right on.
Yeah. So I'm pleased.
Good.
I'm really pleased with it.
Yeah.
Yes, Clint.
I just say I agree. Like I saw it, I think last week, and I thought it was, this is so real and so subtle. But I just wasn't, it was great. It was great film acting. I was like riveted. But this week, I think you just like took a lot of risks with the things you were doing, and you weren't.
Yeah.
You seemed like you just kind of like took off the chains, and you were making some bold choices, bold choices,
yeah.
but little moments. And Tony, you're just so truthful in everything you did in this. It really worked for me.
We did.
Yeah.
We did felt bad that we hadn't rehearsed enough for the last time, and so we did a double rehearsal this time. So we rehearsed the day after, and then decided to meet
It's
up
funny,
again
it felt
yesterday.
felt
And
less rehearsed.
I think it's because we massaged it so that we got rid of all that weird flutter, and we could just go the line. And I think that working with the note, and just it felt different to us in rehearsal too.
Yeah, it's really exciting rehearsals.
Yeah, so it was great to go on and and delve deeper. I mean, honestly, looking back, this is always easy in retrospect. I feel like what I did before was more of, and it's still a little bit there, more of an indication of the character rather than being like inhabiting and living the moments as they come. But I think we were both surprised with the challenge of the matter, that it seemed like a fairly simple scene,
Yeah.
fairly short and fairly easy, and then it seems like the material just keeps on like pointing towards some deeper stuff, and the challenge was to find out what are they actually doing to each other for me, in the sense that they're talking about abstract stuff, political situations and the newspaper and the wife and that relationship, while the scene is really about them. Which is why I was so angry in the beginning. I think that when you really know a breakup is on its way, you know it. You feel it in your body. That's the time. It's like thunder in the air. So it was just there, and
Was that thing supposed to be there?
Oh, that's mine. I left it from last scene.
It's the last scene, but it irritated
to
you.
me it was an old newspaper that somebody had left in the office. It was crumpled some. But it irritated me.
Well, like I said, you kicked it,
Yeah.
and it kicked off the scene. It just made you irritated,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you were salty.
Yeah.
You know, you were surly.
Well, we worked on breaking blocking to not to be too like in the spots all the time, and I think part of it prompted me to also break some of the stage directions, which talk about him being very genuinely kind in the beginning, and I think that there's still a relationship going. There's still a genuine wanting the relationship to work, but the kindness is definitely gone because there's an irritation that this breakup is coming.
Mhm.
That's how I chose to interpret it.
Well, the irritation was palpable, and you know, Tony, the first few times you did it, you had a touch of the poet, and this time that was gone.
Interesting.
It was sort of poetic, how you were talking,
Yeah.
the language seemed more flowery. And this time it didn't. It was more biting. It was
Stronger motivation behind it.
Yeah, we're talking about important things here.
Yeah.
I have something important I need to discuss with you. I'm disappointed with you.
Yeah.
I like her. I love her, not romantically, but I love her. And you have a child that's involved in here. And what kind of man are you? I can look the other way with maybe some of the womanizing and some of the brutal business practices, because that business is business, and you are certainly a businessman. But this is, there's a wonderful scene. Did you ever see the Rob Reiner film, The American President? With this great scene between Michael Douglas plays the U.S. president, and Annette Bening plays a lobbyist that he ends up having an affair with, and his rivals keep on like basically saying you're sleeping with a woman in the White House while your daughter is 2 doors down, and they basically trying to turn her into a whore, and he's not sticking up for her. And at the end, they're breaking up, and she's so disappointed in him because he made a political decision instead of a decision that was he made a decision that was better for him and his reelection than it was between right and wrong, and he goes, come on, Cindy, I don't want to lose you, and she goes, you lost something bigger than that, Mr. President, and he goes, what? She goes, you lost my vote.
All right.
And she was so disappointed in him, and I love that line. You lost my vote, and it's like he lost that. He lost
Fundamental respect.
Yes, yeah, and that's where the poetry went away, and that. What did you do? What?
Tony, today normally we've been having, when you have that long speech to me, I've been getting up, and it's too much for me, and I can't take it and hear it. But today I just couldn't get up because it just came across so strong.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well done.